The morning sun beat down on Camp Pendleton's rifle range as Sergeant Maya Rodriguez stepped out of the transport truck. At 32 years old, she carried herself with quiet confidence that came from 10 years of service. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and her uniform was crisp despite the California heat. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not really. Maya had been a logistics specialist for most of her career, managing supply chains and keeping bases running smoothly. But 2 months ago, everything changed. Her younger brother, Private First Class Danny Rodriguez, had been killed in a training accident. An accident that Maya knew wasn't really an accident at all. The investigation had been rushed. The report blamed equipment failure. Case closed. But Danny's last letter to Maya told a different story. He'd witnessed something he shouldn't have seen, something involving stolen weapons being sold off base. He'd been planning to report it to the military police. Then came the accident. Maya had requested a transfer to advanced marksmanship training at Camp Pendleton. She needed access. She needed to be closer to the truth, and she needed skills that her desk job hadn't provided. As she walked toward the training grounds, Maya carried a rifle case that drew stares from everyone she passed. Unlike the standard black cases, hers was bright orange. Not just any orange, but the same fluorescent shade used for safety equipment. It had been Danny's idea of a joke when he'd custom painted it for her birthday last year. "You always said you wanted to learn to shoot," he'd laughed. "When you do, nobody will miss you coming." Now, carrying that orange case felt like carrying a piece of him with her. The training area was filled with 24 Marines, all men, all younger than Maya. They stood in small groups, checking their weapons and talking in low voices. When Maya approached, conversations stopped. Eyes followed the orange case. "What's in the lunchbox, ma'am?" called out Lance Corporal Brad Tucker, a thick-necked 23-year-old from Texas. The other Marines chuckled. Maya set the case down carefully and opened it. Inside lay her rifle, also painted the same bright orange. It was a modified M4 carbine, completely legal in regulation, but the paint job made it look like a toy. The laughter started immediately. "Did you get lost on the way to the toy store?" Tucker said louder this time. "Maybe she thinks this is paintball practice," added another Marine. Master Gunnery Sergeant Jim Walsh, the lead instructor, walked over. He was a mountain of a man, 6'4" with arms like tree trunks. His face showed every one of his 25 years in the Corps. "Sergeant Rodriguez," he said, looking at the orange rifle with barely hidden amusement. "This is advanced marksmanship training, not a carnival." "Yes, Master Guns," Maya replied simply. "That weapon regulation." "Yes, Master Guns, fully regulation, just a custom paint job." Walsh shook his head. "Your funeral, Sergeant, but when you can't hit the broad side of a barn because you're too busy playing dress-up with your rifle, don't come crying to me." More laughter from the group. Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks but kept her face neutral. She'd learned long ago that anger was a luxury she couldn't afford, not when she had work to do. "Take position 12, Walsh ordered, pointing to the far end of the firing line. "Try not to embarrass yourself too much." Maya picked up her orange rifle and walked to her position. She could hear the whispers and snickers behind her. Let them laugh, she thought. Danny had always said the best response to mockery was excellence. The first exercise was basic stationary targets at 100 yards. Maya had spent the last 2 months preparing, using every off-duty hour at the range near her previous posting. She'd paid for private lessons, studied ballistics manuals, and practiced until her shoulder was purple with bruising. As the other Marines took their positions, Maya noticed something interesting. Lance Corporal Tucker was positioned right next to Master Guns Walsh. They seemed friendly, too friendly for instructor and student. And Tucker's rifle had modifications that looked expensive. Too expensive for a Lance Corporal's salary. "Shooters ready," Walsh called out. Maya loaded her magazine, the orange rifle gleaming in the sun. She thought of Danny, of his last letter, of the truth buried beneath military bureaucracy. "On my command," Walsh continued, his voice carrying across the range. 5 rounds, center mass, any questions?" Tucker raised his hand with a smirk. "Master Guns, should we go easy so the lady with the toy gun doesn't feel bad?" The group laughed again. Even Walsh cracked a smile. Maya said nothing. She simply adjusted her stance, controlled her breathing, and waited. The orange rifle felt warm in her hands, like it was alive, like Danny's spirit was flowing through it. She hadn't come here to make friends. She'd come here to become dangerous enough to find her brother's killers. And if they wanted to underestimate her because of an orange rifle, that was their mistake. Shooters fire when ready. The range exploded with gunfire. Maya would show them all what a woman with an orange rifle could do. But more importantly, she'd get close enough to find out what really happened to Danny. This was just the beginning. The rifle range at Camp Pendleton fell silent after the first round of shooting. Marines began checking their targets through spotting scopes, calling out their scores. Most had managed decent groupings, with 3 or 4 rounds in the center rings. "Tucker not bad, 4 in the black," Walsh announced, making notes on his clipboard. Maya stayed quiet at position 12, her orange rifle still raised, studying her target through her scope. All 5 rounds had punched through the exact center of the bullseye. The hole was barely larger than a single bullet. "Rodriguez, call your score," Walsh barked impatiently. "5 center, master guns." Walsh lowered his clipboard. "That's 5 in the black, Sergeant, be specific." "No, master guns, 5 dead center, same hole." The laughter started again, but Walsh grabbed a spotting scope and turned it toward target 12. His face changed. The smirk disappeared. He looked again, then walked down the firing line to see for himself. The other Marines watched as Walsh examined Maya's target up close. When he turned back, his expression was unreadable. "Lucky shots," he announced. "Reset for rapid fire. 30 rounds, 30 seconds. Let's see you do that again with speed, Rodriguez." Maya nodded and began reloading. Her fingers moved smoothly, practiced. Those 2 months of preparation hadn't been just about accuracy. She'd trained for speed, for pressure, for the moment when everyone was watching. As she loaded her magazines, Maya noticed Tucker and Walsh exchanging glances. There was something there, a nervousness that hadn't existed before. Good, let them wonder. "Shooters ready." Maya breathed deeply, settling into her stance. The orange rifle drew more stares and whispers from the other Marines. She blocked them out, focusing only on the target, on her breathing, on Danny's memory. "Fire." The range erupted again. Maya's rifle barked steadily, controlled bursts of 3 exactly as trained. But while others sprayed their rounds across the target, Maya painted a pattern. Upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right, then center. Repeat. Her orange rifle moved like it was part of her body. "Cease fire." 30 seconds felt like 30 minutes. Maya's shoulder ached, but she kept her face neutral as she saved her weapon. The Marines retrieved their targets. Most showed scattered hits across the paper, decent but nothing special. When Maya brought hers forward, the conversation stopped. She had shot a perfect cross pattern with a smiley face in the center. Every round had hit exactly where she'd intended. It wasn't just good shooting. It was artistic. It was impossible. "Where did you train, Sergeant?" Walsh asked, his voice different now, cautious. "Self-taught master guns, after my brother died." She watched his face carefully at the mention of Danny. There it was, a flicker of recognition, quickly suppressed. "Your brother was military." "Private First Class Danny Rodriguez, master guns, died in a training accident 2 months ago, right here at Pendleton." The silence stretched out. Tucker shifted uncomfortably. "Sorry for your loss," Walsh said finally. "Take 5, everyone, hydrate." As the other Marines dispersed, Maya overheard Tucker whispering urgently to Walsh. She couldn't make out the words, but Tucker kept glancing her way. Walsh shook his head, seeming to argue. Maya walked to the water station, her orange rifle slung over her shoulder. A younger Marine, Private Collins, approached hesitantly. "Sergeant, that shooting, I've never seen anything like it." "Practice private, that's all." "Was your brother really stationed here?" Maya studied the young man. He seemed genuine, nervous even. "You knew Danny." Collins looked around, making sure nobody was listening. "We were in the same unit. He was asking questions before he died, about missing equipment, about some shipments that didn't add up." Maya's pulse quickened, but she kept her voice level. "Training accident, they said." "Yeah, well," Collins hesitated. "Danny was the best driver in our unit. That vehicle malfunction story never made sense, and the way they rushed the investigation." "Private Collins," Walsh's voice boomed across the range. Stop bothering Sergeant Rodriguez and get back to your position. Collins scrambled away, but not before whispering, Building 47, check the maintenance logs. Maya filed the information away and returned to her position. The next exercise was moving targets, pop-ups at various distances. This was where she'd really show them what the orange rifle could do. But as she prepared, Maya noticed something else. Two military police vehicles had pulled up at the edge of the range. The officers stayed in their cars, watching, waiting. Walsh noticed them too, his jaw tightened. Change of plans, he announced. Combat simulation drill, full gear tactical movement. Rodriguez, you're up first. Solo run through the combat course. Let's see if that orange toy helps you when you're under real pressure. The combat course was brutal. A quarter-mile of obstacles, pop-up targets, and simulated enemy positions. Most Marines ran it in teams. Solo runs were punishment duty. Maya strapped on the 40-pound gear pack without complaint. She checked her orange rifle one more time. The other Marines gathered to watch, some smirking, others curious after her earlier performance. Clock starts on my whistle, Walsh said. He seemed eager now, like he wanted her to fail. Standard passing time is 15 minutes. Maya nodded and moved to the starting line. She thought about Danny, about his last phone call. He'd sounded scared but determined. I'm going to do the right thing, Maya, no matter what. The whistle blew. Maya exploded forward, her orange rifle leading the way. She'd studied this course online, memorized every obstacle, every typical target placement. But knowing and doing were different things. She moved like water, flowing over barriers, through trenches, always shooting, always moving. The orange rifle flashed in the sun, impossible to miss, making her a target. But that was the point. Let them see her coming. Because Maya Rodriguez wasn't hiding anymore. Maya flew through the combat course like she'd been born to it. Her orange rifle cracked steadily as targets popped up. Headshot. Center mass, double tap. Every movement was efficient, every shot deliberate. The Marines watching from the observation area had stopped laughing. They stood silent, mesmerized, as Maya vaulted over a 6-foot wall without breaking stride. Her orange rifle never stopped moving, tracking from target to target with mechanical precision. 8 minutes 30 seconds, someone whispered, checking their watch. Tucker's face had gone pale. He kept glancing at Walsh, then at the military police vehicles that still waited at the edge of the range. Maya reached the final obstacle, a mock building with multiple target zones. This was where most Marines slowed down, carefully clearing each room. But Maya had studied the footage of previous runs. She knew the pattern. She burst through the door, rifle up, 3 targets in the first room. The orange rifle barked 3 times, 3 headshots. She moved to the second room, sliding around the corner. 2 targets, 2 shots, both center mass. The final room was supposed to have 4 targets, but Maya heard breathing that didn't belong to cardboard. Someone was in there, someone real. She entered carefully, rifle ready. Lance Corporal Tucker stood in the corner, his weapon raised. Wrong room, Tucker, Maya said calmly, her orange rifle trained on him. Drop the weapon, Rodriguez. His hands shook slightly. Why afraid of an orange toy? You don't understand. Your brother stuck his nose where it didn't belong. He found out about the weapons you and Walsh have been selling, the shipments that go missing, the money that ends up in offshore accounts. Tucker's eyes widened. How do you? Danny sent me everything. Emails, photos, shipping manifests. I have copies in 3 different locations. One goes to military investigators if anything happens to me. The whistle blew from outside. Maya had been in the course too long. Coming out, Maya called, backing toward the door, never lowering her rifle. Tucker didn't follow. When Maya emerged from the building, the entire training group was standing at the finish line. Walsh held a stopwatch, his face unreadable. 11 minutes 43 seconds, he announced. Course record is 12 minutes 15 seconds. The Marines erupted in surprised murmurs. Maya had just beaten a record that had stood for 5 years, with an orange rifle, on her first attempt. But Maya wasn't done. Master Guns, she said loudly, ensuring everyone could hear. There seems to be a problem with the course. Lance Corporal Tucker is hiding in the final building. Walsh's expression darkened. What are you talking about? He was waiting for me, with a loaded weapon. Said something about my brother sticking his nose where it didn't belong. The military police officers had gotten out of their vehicles now, moving closer. Walsh forced a laugh. That's a serious accusation, Sergeant. Tucker was probably just running extra training. Maya pulled out her phone. During the confrontation, she'd been recording. Tucker's voice played clearly. Your brother stuck his nose where it didn't belong, he found out about. The recording cut off, but it was enough. The MPs were moving fast now. Tucker burst from the building, running toward the parking area. He didn't make it 10 yards before the MPs tackled him. Walsh started backing away, but Maya raised her orange rifle. I wouldn't master guns. This orange toy has been recording everything all day. Audio and video through the scope cam. Every conversation, every threat, every admission. It was a lie. The rifle had no such capability, but Walsh didn't know that. His shoulders sagged in defeat. As the MPs cuffed both men, Private Collins approached Maya. Other Marines gathered around, their earlier mockery forgotten. Sergeant Rodriguez, Collins said quietly. Danny talked about you all the time, said you were the smartest person he knew, said if anything happened to him, you'd figure it out. Maya's eyes burned with unshed tears. The orange rifle suddenly felt heavier in her hands. Why the orange rifle? Another Marine asked. Why make yourself such a target? Maya looked at the weapon Danny had painted for her. My brother said something once. He said the best hunters use bright colors because they're so confident in their skills, they want the prey to see them coming. They want them to know fear. She turned to watch Walsh and Tucker being driven away. I wanted them to see me coming. I wanted them to know that Danny's sister was here, that she knew what they'd done. Master Sergeant Davis, the backup instructor, stepped forward. Sergeant Rodriguez, that was the finest display of marksmanship I've seen in 20 years. Where did you really train? Every range within 50 miles of my last post, Master Sergeant. 10 hours a day for 2 months. I shot until my hands bled, then I taped them up and shot some more. Why? Because I knew I'd only get one chance to get close to them. One chance to prove Danny didn't die in an accident. The orange rifle made them underestimate me, made them think I was just some grieving sister playing soldier. She looked at the assembled Marines. My brother was one of you. He died trying to protect the integrity of this corps. The least I could do was learn to shoot straight. The Marine stood straighter, respecting not just her skill but her purpose. But the day wasn't over. As Maya walked toward the administration building to give her statement, she noticed something troubling. There were more people involved in this conspiracy. The investigation was just beginning. And she still had ammunition left. The investigation room at Camp Pendleton was cold and sterile. Maya sat across from Colonel Patricia Hayes, the lead investigator from the Inspector General's office. Between them lay the orange rifle, now tagged as evidence, and stacks of documents Maya had compiled. Sergeant Rodriguez, Colonel Hayes began, studying a file. Your brother sent you these documents 2 days before his death. Yes, ma'am, hidden in photo attachments. Danny was smart about it. He knew his communications might be monitored. Hayes nodded, flipping through shipping manifests. This is extensive. Walsh and Tucker were just the tip of the iceberg. How many others? Maya asked. 7 more arrests this morning. The conspiracy went all the way up to a lieutenant colonel in supply. Your brother discovered a weapon-selling ring that had been operating for 3 years. Millions of dollars in stolen equipment. Maya felt a mix of satisfaction and sorrow. Justice for Danny, but it wouldn't bring him back. There's something else, Hayes continued. We found the tampered brake lines on the vehicle your brother was driving. It wasn't just negligent homicide, it was murder. The words hit Maya like a physical blow, even though she'd known it all along. A knock interrupted them. Master Sergeant Davis entered. Sorry to interrupt, Colonel, but there's something you need to see. They followed him outside, where seemingly the entire training battalion had assembled. 300 Marines stood in formation in the scorching sun. As Maya emerged, they snapped to attention. Private Collins stepped forward with a rifle case. Not orange this time, but black with a brass plaque. Sergeant Rodriguez, he said, his voice carrying across the silent parade ground. The Marines of 3rd Battalion would like to present you with this. Maya opened the case. Inside was a pristine M4 carbine with custom engraving along the barrel. For PFC Danny Rodriguez honor through truth. We took up a collection, Collins explained. Every Marine here contributed. Your brother was one of us, and today you proved you are too. Colonel Hayes stepped forward. Sergeant Rodriguez, I've been authorized to make you an offer. The Marine Corps needs investigators with your skills, not just marksmanship, but intelligence, determination, and courage. We're forming a new unit to investigate internal corruption. Would you consider leading it? Maya looked at the assembled Marines, at the rifle they'd given her, at the orange rifle that had started it all. On one condition, she said. The unit will be called the Rodriguez Initiative in honor of my brother. Agreed. 6 months later, Maya stood in her new office at Quantico. The walls held commendations, photos of Danny, and in a place of honor, the orange rifle in a display case. A plaque beneath it read, "Never underestimate the determined." Her team of 12 investigators had already exposed 2 more corruption rings. They were known throughout the Corps as the best of the best, handpicked by Maya for their integrity and skill. Tucker had been sentenced to 20 years in military prison. Walsh got 25. The lieutenant colonel got life. Each conviction felt like a small victory for Danny. But the real victory came in an unexpected form. Maya was reviewing files when Private Collins, now Corporal Collins and part of her team, knocked on her door. "Ma'am, there's someone here to see you." An elderly woman entered, supported by a cane. Her eyes were red from crying. "Sergeant Rodriguez, I'm Betty Walsh, Jim Walsh's mother." Maya tensed, but the woman raised a trembling hand. "Please, I'm not here to defend him. I'm here to thank you." Maya's confusion must have shown. "My Jim was a good boy once," Betty continued. "A hero, 3 tours in Afghanistan, but something changed him. The greed, the corruption, I watched my son disappear into someone I didn't recognize." She pulled out an envelope. "He wrote me from prison, first honest letter in years. He said you could have killed him that day, said you had him dead to rights with that orange rifle of yours. But you didn't. You gave him the chance to surrender." Maya remembered the moment, her finger on the trigger, the choice to let justice take its course instead of revenge. "He's getting help now," Betty said. "Therapy, trying to remember who he used to be, and he wanted me to give you this." The envelope contained a single sheet and a photograph. The photo showed a younger Walsh with Danny at some base function, both smiling. The letter was brief. "Your brother was a good Marine. I betrayed everything we stood for. I'm sorry. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn the mercy you showed me. J.W." Maya stared at the photo. Danny looked so young, so alive. "Thank you for not taking revenge," Betty said. "Thank you for being better than my son was." After Betty left, Maya stood at her window, looking out at the training fields where new recruits were learning to shoot. Some would become heroes. Some might lose their way. But as long as people like Danny existed, people willing to stand up for what was right, there was hope. Her phone rang. Another case. Another conspiracy to unravel. Another chance to honor Danny's memory. Maya grabbed her gear, pausing to touch the orange rifle in its case. "Thanks for the paint job, little brother," she whispered. "It got their attention just like you said it would." As she headed out to her team, Maya thought about that first day at Camp Pendleton. They'd mocked the woman with the orange rifle. They'd laughed at her toy gun. They'd underestimated her completely. But Danny had taught her something important. Sometimes the brightest colors hide the darkest truths. And sometimes it takes someone willing to stand out to expose what others want to keep hidden. The orange rifle had done its job. It had made them look. And when they looked, Maya had shown them exactly what one determined woman could do. Justice for Danny, honor for the Corps, and proof that no one should ever underestimate someone brave enough to paint their weapon orange and still walk onto a Marine firing range. The woman with the orange rifle had become a legend. But more importantly, she'd become the guardian her brother always knew she could be.